Welcome to Tommy Solo's Famous Friends. This is where I get to chat with people I've connected with over the years in the world of arts and entertainment. And today, I'm very happy to have with me. You all know her from the Barra MacNeils, and now she's breaking out on her own. Welcome to the show, Lucy MacNeil.
Hi there. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing just tickety boo. Oh, I should mention that just before I got into my studio here, I was stuck in a car wash with my truck. But
Oh, stuck. How do you
That's
get
an
stuck?
adventure. Yeah. Anyway, long story short, we're here and I'm glad to
Okay.
have you. Yeah.
Oh, it's good to be here.
So you have a long established career with your family in the Barra
Mhm.
MacNeils, and you went from humble beginnings in Sydney Mines, Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, to being internationally recognized as one of, if not the best Celtic act in the world. So congratulations on that career. And now, what's inspired you to break out on your own?
Well, I finished university in 91 and I went on the road with the Barra MacNeils and I've been doing that ever since. And it's going to be 40 years next year that we've been doing this. And lots of wonderful experiences and, and mishaps and things and, but I guess in 2017, I got married for the second time. And this time, my husband really enjoys music and plays himself. He's a nurse, but he also is a is a musician. And so we did a little surprise five-number EP for our guests for the wedding. So nobody knew that we did this, and it was kind of a nice little surprise, and everyone enjoyed it. So then the pandemic came, and of course everybody is home, and we played a lot more music at home together and put some stuff on Facebook, and it got a really great reaction. And we did a David Millett's "Hope for One and All," which was a song that really spoke to people at the time, being everybody locked at home. And and again, right now in the world, I've been performing it at the end of the shows, and people are taking to it once again. Hope, anything for that little bit of hope in your life that things will work themselves out. So, uh, made the album, continued with after the pandemic, continued with Hope for One and All and different songs that we had put on the EP, and decided to finish the album, make an album, and then it just seems like I'm not trying really to do much with it, but it's taking me here, and I'm talking to you today, and enjoying it, having fun. It's different when you record as a band. It takes a lot longer because there's more input, right? It's not just one person's input. So what I did enjoy very much was that I had the last say on everything this time
You,
around,
you gotta like
and
that. Yeah.
and it was very freeing. And when I look back, when I look at the package and I look at everything that's done and I listen to it, I'm very, very proud of it. And I'm very proud that, I had a lot of say in it. And just, if I never do another thing, I'll be very, very happy that I've left this for my hopefully grandchildren someday, and I left it behind for people.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there, but you mentioned having a husband who's on board. That makes a huge
It
difference.
really
I
does.
know from my own personal musical career, I had quit playing full time on the road when I met my first wife. And it turns out that she wasn't crazy about me playing in a band, and I wasn't on a stage for 10 years.
Mm.
And then, long story short, things happened. My life kind of blew up, and I got back into it, with full force. And while I was going through some things, my now wife and future and forever wife was kind
Yes.
of watching from the wings, and it turns out that she has a musical background, and both her and her father had a couple of my albums, which I thought, you're the two. That's for the
You're the two.
yeah. So it's really nice that you have the support at home. That's
Mhm.
great. And I get the independence thing too, because for years I was a lead guitar player. That's what I was. I was a hired gun in people's bands and
Mhm.
always wanted to do my own thing. But everybody said, well, you do originals, blah, blah, blah. But you got to get out there and do it, right? And you got to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and it's funny, like I people are enjoying it, and then and the rest, I have three other members traveling with me, and there's, but it's funny when I get off, I'm kind of still feeling that little bit of uncertainty in my stomach, like, and but then I just saw some video footage from one of the gigs we played in Saskatoon, and great sound man there and everything, and they had snippets of about seven different numbers, and was looking at it and I'm like, oh wow, it it sounds good. I look happy. I'm confident. I sounded good. I should be very proud of it and not always kind of feeling like, "Eh." So I am now that I'm just you just got to do it.
And that's so rewarding when you put the time and effort into creating your own thing. And like you say, when you have as much input as you had on this one, that makes a huge difference. It's always good to work with a good producer, but
Yes.
it's not the same when you're just doing what you're told in the studio, and maybe the family has one idea and there's no room for any variation because this is what's worked in the past. So
Yeah.
I think it's really cool when you can sit back and listen to the songs and appreciate the product that you pretty well
Yeah.
came up with on your own.
Yes. So it was a great experience, um, and Jamie Foles was the sound engineer, and he did the mixing. And then the mastering was done in Toronto by Joe Carvalho, and he just did the final tweaks, just brought it up a notch, and everything has its place because it's not a big production album. It's, there's very minimal instrumentation, but just the arrangements they work well. There's a lot of room, there's space and there's room, and but there's still a lot of energy. So
Well,
sometimes you
from
put a lot of instruments on, it just gets squashed down,
Yeah.
and there's
Well,
not.
Frank Zappa once said the more notes there are, the more it sounds like honking geese, right? But what I noticed when I listened to and watched the video for Radio Sweethearts, which we might just give the people a little preview in a bit on that, is
Okay.
that everything sits nicely in the track. And that's so important because you get really good musicians, sometimes virtuoso level musicians who go in the studio and it's all about, "Ooh, look at me, and all
Mm,
this. And boy, all my friends are going to be amazed at how fast I
yeah,
can play and whatever." But then you listen to the end product and it's, what on earth is this?
yeah,
So sometimes simplicity really, really works. And it might just be a matter of maybe just having a lead vocal with a third on top and don't worry about the fifth, or if there's a seventh or ninth, just, you know, keep it simple and make it sound nice and let everything sit and breathe in the track.
yeah. That's breathing is what I find it does. Most of the tracks have a great. You're in it when you're listening, which is nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really smooth. And I know that the Barra MacNeils have done several Christmas recordings. Now that you're branching out on your own, is that something you think you might want to do?
Well, I don't really have to because the Barra MacNeils are all booked for next year and the year after that, and for our Christmas. Our Christmas tours are pretty well. It's 25 years this year. We did 25 years of the since the first album. So we have three Christmas albums, and I don't really see myself doing a Christmas album per se. Um, Well, you never know,
Who knows?
but I don't see it just yet. But it's right away. It's like what? It's March, so July, August is when the theaters start advertising for their Christmas, selling Christmas tickets, and then
Right.
all of a sudden you're back into we leave mid-November. So I guess I don't want to think about Christmas too soon.
Let's enjoy some warm weather first.
Yes,
I
some
mean,
warm weather would be lovely.
I've been telling people for months this is the first real winter we've had in decades, and I don't like it.
No, okay. We've been pretty lucky in Cape Breton. We've we didn't have a lot of snow, like really. Last year we were also we did okay, but then we had one weekend of it snowed for 3 days solid, straight down, and we got 150 centimeters.
Well, here in southwestern Ontario, it's been brutally cold. I mean, we had weeks of 20 below, and uh, I grew up in North Bay, Ontario, which tends to be a
Okay.
lot colder than what it gets here in London, Ontario. But after so many years of calm and, like you get half a winter and all of a sudden, wow, it's winter. It's
Yes,
really winter. I
it's
don't know if I
really
like
winter.
this. And it was
I
too,
like a bit of winter, I do look forward to winter, but then it gets tiring and you want to, okay,
well, let
let's
me put
warm
it this
things
way,
up.
Lucy. It was too cold for me to ice fish this year. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
You're ice
And
fisher.
I love to fish. But so the album is Angel's Whisper, is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And so it came together organically, I'm guessing. Like, and I noticed that the Radio Sweethearts is somebody else's composition. So
Yes.
did you write any of the material, or were you just fortunate to have the right people there to support you in that aspect?
In most of the songs, it's other people's or traditional.
Okay.
Because I, come from a very traditional background, grew up with lots of music, and to me, that's my first love is the traditional songs, and because they've already stood the test of time. They're all, they're great songs. So I was just interested in trying to make songs that many people have recorded, but to make my own version, my own stamp on some of these classics. Like Sally Gardens is a classic, and Fair and Tender Ladies is one of those songs like in the Americana and different, like it's just, if you go on YouTube, you'll find a lot of versions of Fair and Tender Ladies, and I think mine is uh, quite different than
Well, there's really something to be said, A, for doing covers, and B, for putting your own stamp on them. I mean, even the Beatles did covers when they first started out. I think
Mhm.
of Please, Mr. Postman, and so all these different songs that they did
Yeah.
that, people assume they wrote them because Lennon and McCartney were like one of the most
Yes.
renowned songwriting teams.
Yeah.
But when it comes to picking a cover, and I've done a few in my own career. I find that I kind of want to know, did somebody else do this recently? Or has enough time passed that I can do the first cut as the deepest, and people aren't going to immediately think of Rod Stewart or Sheryl Crow, whatever, and then to
Hmm.
put your own personal stamp on it. And again, that personal satisfaction when you get to hear it back and you think, you know what? This doesn't sound like Cat Stevens. This
Hmm.
sounds like Lucy McNeil. So
Hmm.
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I have been writing, and there's a couple in the live show that I do, but I just felt for my first project, I wanted it to be a great album. I wanted it to be, from beginning to end. I love the whole package, and I have instrumentals. There's many instrumentals that I've written on the album, but words are very special to me. Like when I sing a song, I have to get that goosebump on the arm kind of thing. So in order for me to write something that I'd have to think it was pretty good to put it on. So maybe the next one, but
Right.
I just didn't want to worry about that with this one. I just picked good songs, and so like yeah, like so there's John Miller, John McCusker did Radio Sweethearts. David Mallet is a prolific songwriter for Hope and One and All, and he just passed away this past December. And
Mm.
which I'm really surprised with is when I ask the audience, is there any David Mallet fans? And they're all so quiet. And I say, well, you are a David Mallet fan and you don't realize it. And then I'll say the garden song. And everyone, when I start saying, inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. And they're like, oh, yeah, I know that song. I said, well, that's a David Mallet song. And he has back catalogs of albums and great songs. And there's so many people, so many like well-known singers, songwriters that have recorded his stuff. And anyway, but I was just sad I never got to meet him because, I did Ballad of the St. Anne's Reel back when I was in high school. And now all these many years later, I'm doing another David Mallet song, Hope for One and All. And I just love the message in Hope for One and All. He wrote it in the 70s and it's just still,
Stands true
still,
today. Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of Radio Sweethearts, why don't we give the people a little peek, a little sneak peek review on that?
Okay.
One night, a long time ago, two lovers danced to an old radio. The music played clear and bright. The radio sweethearts waltzed all night. She was pretty, he was tall. He placed the furniture next to the wall. They closed their eyes, the stars shone bright. The radio sweethearts waltzed all night. Years have passed.
Wow, that is smooth. That is a sweet song. And from what I've seen and heard of the rest of the album, it's all really smooth. So I know that people can get your music on Spotify. Do you have like physical CDs or
On
anything?
Bandcamp,
Album?
Bandcamp, that's
Okay.
just a link on my website. So if you go there, you can just click on the Bandcamp link, and every now and then the little thing goes cha-ching.
Well, Bandcamp is my personal favorite, and it's because they pay us fairly, you know.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
think we as musicians need to get the word out to our fans, that they can permanently own the music and they can have endless streaming of it, and
Yes.
whatever fashion or form they choose to buy it in, they can get it at Bandcamp. And we get paid fairly.
Yes. Yeah, it's great. And it's great when they have the Bandcamp Fridays, and and someone will buy it on that day because you get more that day, right? So it's there's considerate fans out there, people that really, when they like your music, and they want to help. They want to see you continue making music. And so, I encourage lots of people to use Bandcamp because it's for the musician.
And I've had people over the last number of years ask me, why do you still make CDs? And to be honest, I haven't made money off of CDs in years. I
Mm.
typically lose money every time I manufacture CDs. I
Yeah.
do it because there are people out there who keep asking for the music in CD format, and if I could afford to do vinyl, I would do that because
Mm.
I feel like as artists, we are here not only for the personal satisfaction that we get for a job well done and a great performance, but we're here, I find, for the love of the music and for those who love the music.
Yes. Yeah. And we realize how important we are as musicians in troubled times. When people feel, pretty lost and worried, scared, like, because just the way, I don't want, you can't get away from it on the news, but all the topsy-turvy, everything is turning upside down in the US, Canada, all, but when someone has, actually, it's just the other day someone was talking about, there's certain songs, when people go through breakups, or they go through losses, losing a parent or something, or a dog, or, and there's always some music that will, you put it on, and that just makes them feel better for that little bit of that moment, and then they realize, oh, things aren't so bad, I'll get over it. So I don't know, it's just healing. Music is healing.
Music is the doctor, absolutely. And if anything good came out of the pandemic, I talked to so many artists like yourself who say, "Well, I was inspired to write this or to do this, or, create this and record this or that." I started this podcast because I have a day business. It's almost sounds cliche, but it's Major Tom's Recycling and Junk Removal Service, and we
Okay.
had we had been in business for uh, around 10 years when the pandemic hit. And I was so busy at that point in time, I had to tell my wife, stop booking appointments for the same day. I can't keep
Hmm.
up with it. And all of a sudden, everything shut down. And I
Yes.
went, oh no, now what are we going to do? So thankfully, we had a government that was on the side of the
Yes.
people, and especially for musicians like
Yeah.
yourself,
Oh
what
gosh,
would
yeah.
we have done, without the
Yeah.
political environment we were in with, the government that was in
Yes.
the house. But music is inspiring. Music is the doctor. And I've said many, many times, personally, I don't know what I would have done in my life if it wasn't for the music, you know. And as for your music, I find that Celtic music is uplifting in the darkest of
It's
times and in the best of times. But one thing I have to say is kudos for anybody who can play Celtic music at the level that you and your family and your bandmates do. I've done St. Patrick's Day gigs in the past where it took me a month just to get one set. And the hardest part for me was place names in Ireland and Scotland and so on, and
okay.
trying to
Yes.
understand, and then I I would do a little leprechaun thing anyway, and put on a really bad Irish accent. But
Okay.
even to do songs, like, well, Whiskey in the Jar is relatively easy, but Dustbin Flowers and uh, Whiskey on a Sunday and things like that, and the arrangements. I don't know how it's possible for the players to make everything sit nicely because it's very it's it's so volatile, and energetic.
Yes, yeah. It's funny you talk about it's a very energetic type of uplifting music, but then the song part of it, most of the songs are like heart-wrenching and love loss and dying and out to sea and never coming home and like not all of them, but so many of them are. But we were talking about music and healing there before. We lost our mother in 2023,
Very
and
sorry.
she had dementia for about the last 5 years of her life. And our mother was, well, this is the reason we all play music, and our father too, but he was very supportive and the driver, the fixer of the soundboard. He was the first, you know what I mean? But our mother was the one who played the instruments and got us all started. And she wasn't a school musician. Like she was by ear, piano, guitar, fiddle, taught us step dancing. But anyway, I was just wanted to comment that when she was forgetting other things, none of the music she forgot. None of it. She would sit at the piano every day and play these certain tunes. And dad would always put on music or videos. And it was keep her in her happy place. And she'd be just, her feet were going all the time, which is good for your, blood flow. And, it was just, music is hardwired into your brain. And when everything else seems to be falling away, that did not leave. And I can't imagine people that go through dementia with someone that doesn't have that because as they lose, our mother wanted to go home, meaning her, where she grew up. She wanted to run through the woods and go to the stream and see the animals and blah, blah, and she wanted to go home. And so, but you could, so to get her off of that and getting angry, you'd have to get the music on. And as soon as that music hit her, she was in another place and she was happy.
Isn't that interesting? It just reminded me of my own grandmother, who was never musical, but she was always my biggest supporter. I mean, she would take a bus or a train from North Bay, Ontario to Toronto to see me play in some bar somewhere, you know. But a number of years ago, she became very ill and she had major strokes, and I had her in a nursing home here in London. And one day they called me at work and said, "You better get down here because your grandmother is catatonic." I said, "Oh my God." So I rushed to the nursing home and I sat there in the garden with her and I was talking to her and she wasn't responding. But they had a piano in the lobby. I wheeled her into the lobby and I just started tinkering around on the piano. And all of a sudden, the big smile and she started clapping and I
Yes.
will never forget that because that was
Yeah.
such a precious moment.
Yeah.
And the music flows through every bit of our being and our souls.
Mhm.
And we were so lucky to
So
have it.
powerful. It's a powerful tool. You
It,
know, it does, it fixes so many things in many ways that we're not aware of. And yeah, I feel fortunate to have been born in a family that, music is well accepted and loved and nurtured. And, I have two daughters and they are musical, but they're not going that path, which I'm fine with. They're gonna have careers of their own, and I won't have to worry about them then.
but I've had people come up to me sometimes, as I know you have, and all of us artists who are at a certain level have had people come up and say, well, I play a little. I'm no good, but I play a little. And I always say, well, when you pick up the guitar and you're at the campfire, are you having fun? Well, yeah. Well, that's all that matters. So your
Yes.
daughters have the music. They don't
Yeah.
need to make a living with it,
No.
as long as they have that joy that we experience from
They
music.
do, and they appreciate it. As they get older, they will appreciate it more. When you're
Absolutely.
younger, like you never tend to, well, it seems like, your parents' music, either you love it or you don't. And but they've taken lessons, and my oldest daughter has great strong voice, and she'll come and jump in. Well, actually, they were on the album. They did harmonies for me on the album in a couple of the numbers, and they've never done that before. But for me, it's very special now because they're a part of my album, and it and their voices blended so well with mine.
Now, I'm wondering, because it's your blood, was there much coaching, or did they just have a natural ability to know where to sing with your voice?
Well, my brother Stuart was the producer,
Okay.
so he kind of just ran through parts and things with them. But they did it, it was it wasn't too difficult considering they've never done that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
So,
No,
yeah.
I just find that when I sing harmonies to my own voice, it's very, very natural. Um,
Hmm.
it's so easy, to sing with myself.
Hmm.
Anyway, you're on tour right now, so you've been to places like London, Ontario. You were here at the Aeolian. You were in Saskatoon. Now you're in Canmore, Alberta. Where are you
Yeah.
headed to next, and where are you going with the rest of your tour?
So today it's Canmore, tomorrow Sherwood Park, Alberta. And then we're in Calgary on Friday at the folk club. And then we're Camrose on Saturday, the 16th. We're in Grand Prairie, and it's actually my husband's 60th birthday. And so we'll have to kind of celebrate that a little bit. And we're off on St. Patrick's Day.
Well,
Imagine that.
nice. Imagine
Yeah.
how'd you manage that?
I don't know.
Uh,
But it'll be a travel day. And then we're in Golden, BC, and Caslow, BC. And then we're back to, then we're in Penticton on the 21st. And Vancouver's where we finish at the Rogue Folk Club on the 23rd. And then I Taylor back home on the Monday.
Very nice. And back in the studio and back to work.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Well, Lucy, I don't want to take up your whole day. I know you've got a lot going on. I do want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to do this with me. And until next time, cheers.
Well, thanks so much, Tommy.
Tommy Solo's Famous Friends is a one-man production, meaning that I've done all the work, including recording, editing, guest acquisition, etc. Don't forget to look for the accompanying articles based on these interviews at 519magazine.com. The theme song for Tommy Solo's Famous Friends is a clip from my original composition, The Burn, all rights reserved. If you enjoy the show and you'd like to help us keep it going, why don't you click on the Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes. Hit the like button, subscribe, all that stuff. We really appreciate it. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. And until next time, cheers.